Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, this episode is about Gandalf. Nope, not that Gandalf. Nope, not that one. Not that one either. Yeah, this is kind of weird because I kind of mentioned this on another episode. But, hey, there are currently 5 Gandalfs, which I think is personally far too many. But, you know, to each their own. Because at this point we've got, well, Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Gray, Gandalf Friend of the Shire. Yeah, I have notes on the side because I wouldn't be able to remember all these. Gandalf White Rider, which this episode is on. And then also Gandalf Westward Voyager, which is a leak. So technically it's like 4, but with an asterisk. And like, it definitely is a real card in my opinion. Now, you might not think so, and that's fine. But we shall see in about a week when the, Commander Precons come out. And there's yet probably another Gandalf in one of those, which is, that'd be the 5th. Maybe there's even a 6th or a 7th. Wizards, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? There's so many legendary characters from Lord of the Rings, and you're like, let's do this one 5 times. Makes no sense at all, in my opinion. That being said, it's a cool design. Please, you could have just done a different character with Lord of the Rings with this same design, in my opinion. And actually, I checked with Eddie, too, and I'm not going to speak for Eddie, but Eddie basically agreed that, like, hey, 5's a bit too many. You probably should have just maybe not done as many. Kind of like, in the Brothers War, we had all those Mishras and all those Urzas, and it's like, come on. Like, you could have just made like one really cool version of each, right? Maybe 2 at the very most. But you really kind of hammered home like, no, we need to make sure people buy this set. Urza's Mishras everywhere. Versus like when the first Urza came out, it was like, oh my gosh, Urza is here. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Urza, whatever. This is kind of how it feels about Gandalf. Instead of it being like one giant reveal, it's like, okay, I need to stop complaining. I need to get to the point. Let's jump into the Commander. Again, I just kind of wish it was a different name and not just Gandalf White Rider. If it was, a different legendary creature from Lord of the Rings, that would have been great. The card design is good. I do like this concept for a commander, and actually for other decks too, it could be very good as well on maybe a Spellslinger deck. Here we go. Gandalf White Rider. Let's just call it something else. Just to make me feel better. Joey. This is Joey. Okay, cool. Joey is a 3/3 Avatar Wizard with Vigilance that costs 3 and a white. Whenever you cast a spell, creature control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Scry 1. Whenever Gandalf... Okay, I can't remember Joey. Whenever Gandalf... We're just going to go with Gandalf. White Rider dies. You may put it on top of its owner's library, 5th on the top. I'm a little choked up on how many Gandalfs there are, apparently. So, interesting design. Again, only 3/3 with Vigilance. I mean, the Vigilance is nice, being able to swing right away. I think I saw a joke somewhere that was like, Shadowfax, show us the meaning of Vigilance, which I think is hilarious, instead of haste, because if it had haste, that would make sense. But yeah, I mean, if there actually is, there's got to be a horse card. Regardless, with this one, hey, Spellslinger Mono White, I love that concept. My goodness. Yeah, you can hit incredibly hard. Whenever you cast a spell, your creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. You scry 1. So, first up, scry is nice. It's not card advantage, but it is fantastic card selection and get rid of any dead cards that you don't need. Unfortunately, that one Sphinx legendary creature is not in white, so you can't be like, oh, I'll convert my scry into draw. No, unless you're playing this in the 99 of a deck, and yeah, this could be good in the 99 of a deck. Then you are just getting card selection, which still can be great, though. Again, get those cards you need off the top, get them in your bottom of the library, and start drawing into cards you actually need. But also, hey, pump your army. And again, the potential to pump your army is massive. +1/+0 for every spell you cast. So this isn't just during your turn. If your opponents are attacking and you've got mana up, they've got to be wary because, hey, you might be able to block really effectively, and they might not realize that. Or they might realize that and just not attack into you because of that. Also, I do want to mention this last part again. When Gandalf dies, you may put it into its owner's library, 5th from the top. That is nice. I mean, again, you can kind of get around commander attacks with that. That being said, if this is your commander, you're probably building your entire deck around this. And if you do that, that can be very risky because, hey, if you don't have any way to draw a good amount of cards quickly, or scry to get down to Gandalf and then, draw that one, this can get, permanently dealt with. Not permanently. There could be a chance to get it back. Obviously, the chance can be incredibly slim. If someone has you shuffle your library which there are a lot of ways to actually do, hey, Chaos Warp. Someone simply Chaos Warps any of your things. If Gandalf isn't on top, or I mean, isn't in your hand, I guess I should say, Gandalf is in your library, it's shuffled away. Yep, and it might very well end up on the bottom of your library, and you maybe have no way to actually get it back for the rest of the game. And again, if your deck is built around that, I personally wouldn't risk this. If you've got yourself set up to draw into it, sure. But I personally wouldn't risk my commander and my entire game plan just to save 2 commander tax. So there you go. That's just my opinion. Regardless, yeah, I like the concept of like Spell Slinger mono white with a bunch of different really exciting things that you can do with this. Go wide, get a bunch of creatures in play, maybe make them evasive in certain way, make them hit differently in certain ways, and yeah, just swing, have a ton of mana open, and make your opponents absolutely sweat because they're like, he's got 6 mana open. I could probably let, I don't know, 4 1/1s through, but if he casts like, 6 cards, then all of a sudden I'm gone. So yeah, I think that could be really fun. So again, I love the design. Wish it was a different character. Love the design, but yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. There's a lot of Gandalfs, apparently. That's just apparently how it is. Hopefully there's not 6 or 7 or 8. So here we go. Let's talk about the budget buys and the pricier picks. The budget buys are going to be cards that are less than $1 that I'd be considering for this one. The pricier picks are going to be cards that are above $1, cards outside of my budget, but they might be within your budget that you should be considering for this commander as well. Regardless, all these cards are in a card list link in the description below. If you are excited about this commander, consider picking some of those up. Now, with that said, let's jump into the budget buys. First up, yeah, I'm not sure if I've ever said this card's name on an episode because, well, it's not usually relevant in most decks. But with this one, this can be fantastic. Homestead Courage. Yeah, this is the thing. A sorcery for a single white mana. Put a +1 counter target creature you control against Vigilance on a turn. But more importantly, you can flash it back for a single white mana. So, this is a spell that you can cast twice. Yeah, you have a, little effect for it. I mean, giving a creature a counter and Vigilance is not bad. I mean, you could just give that 20 creatures that isn't Gandalf, which obviously already has Vigilance. Yeah, give that creature +1 counter, give Vigilance, give that to another creature as well, so you can keep them back for defense too. More importantly, though, again, with this simple card, you're pumping your team, your entire army. Again, could be like 10 plus creatures very easily, +2, +0. You can help your creatures hit a lot harder again for just 2 mana. Moving on, Battle Screech. Speaking of flashback, create 2 1/1 white bird creature tokens with flying. Flashback for free, essentially. Tap 3 untap white creatures you control. So again, kind of with that Vigilance as well, ironically, you can tap Gandalf to actually help cast this as well. I mean, I guess Vigilance doesn't matter. You need Flash for that. Regardless, ignore that thing I just said. Being able to get some birds out, flash it back, essentially, again, for free, can be a great way to pump your team, to pump your army. And actually, again, with this one, to help create your army. And again, some evasive creatures at that. So ones that aren't evasive, but are massive in multitude, is going to be Visions of Glory. Create a 1/1 white human creature token for each creature you control. That is a ton. That is an absurd amount. Again, if you already have 10 creatures in play, now you're at 20. Oh, and by the way, you can flash this back. Now, this is kind of one of those times when you're like, oh, darn, I wish my commander cost a little more. Because, it's a flashback cost is 10, basically. It's going to cost 4 less because your commander costs 4 mana. If it costs more, you could reduce. But again, overall, you'd rather have your commander not cost more mana. Anyways, flashing it back again. If you're at 10, went to 20, you cast this again from flashback. And guess what? You get, 40 creatures then on top of, again, being able to just utilize cards again out of your graveyard for a second attempt, essentially. And again, another way to add to your... not storm count really, but kind of. I mean, because again, you are trying to stack spell for spell to spell to ensure that you can pump your army massively. And scry. Next up, oh gosh, if I could scroll properly. Emerge Unscathed, there we go. Instant for a single white mana. Target creature control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Rebound, a great protection spell. One that can save a lot of your creatures from a lot of, bad things, essentially. Well, I mean, I say a lot, but it's more like 2, because this spell does have rebound. So essentially, save something once, comes back, next turn, on your upkeep, you cast it for free from exile. So therefore, again, for 1 singular mana, you essentially, over 2 turns, get +1/+0, scry once. You're getting twice the value out of this singular card. And again, it's a great way to protect something key, like, maybe your commander. Moving on, Nomad's Assembly. Again, with rebound. This one, again, like Visions of Glory, is pretty potent. You get a 1/1 white core soldier creature token on the battlefield for each creature you control. Again, with all these kind of hey, make more, hey, make more, hey, make more creature effects. this can really add up. And of course, it does have rebound. So yeah, hey, on your upkeep, cast this for free. Again, a free pump effect for your team and a free scry, and essentially double up your army. And if you've got a way to make them hasty, your opponents are going to be in big trouble. Moving on, White Mane Lion. This is another weird way that you can kind of recast spells. White Mane Lion has flash and says when enters the battlefield, return a creature control to his hand. This is just a 2-mana spell, and here's the thing. You can just keep recasting White Mane Lion again and again and again because you do not have to, choose another creature. It doesn't say another creature. White Mane Lion can bounce itself back to your hand. Basically, instant speed, just, hey, 2 mana, +1/+0 to your team, scry 1 again and again and again. And of course, if we've got a cost reducer for this can get really out of control. Next up, Chronomantic Escape. Another way to, kind of in a weird way, get a free effect from your commander. Until your next turn, creatures can't attack you. Remove, basically exile it from the game with 3 time counters on it. Again, that's the old kind of wording for it. And it's got to spend 3 for 2 and a white. Essentially, every 3 turns, you're getting to cast this spell for free. It is an amazing fog effect. It's like, hey, none of you can attack me. Just attack each other. And again, every 3 turns you get that, so it's a great deterrent because it forces your opponents to be deterred from attacking you. Yeah, that's a weird phrase. Anyways, and again, when you are doing that, you are also getting that free benefit of +1/+0 and scry 1 from your commander. Next up, this one's a bit risky, but really, really spicy. Reaping the rewards. Buyback. Yeah, buyback's a very strange mechanic, but it works very well with this commander. This one has buyback, sacrifice a land. It's a single white mana for this spell. Gain 2 life. Who cares that you're gaining life with this? It really doesn't matter. It might matter a little bit to pad your life total, but what matters, again, is that you can buy this back essentially for free. Yeah, you're losing a land, which is not all that great, but hey, if it's the end of the game, you're making one last push to win, you can sacrifice all your lands to go all in to try to win, okay? You may sacrifice land just to any other cost. To basically, if you sacrifice land, you get it back to your hand, okay? That's how it works. So then you can just recast it. It's got the weird old ruling on it, so I'm not going to try to read it. So basically, yeah, pay a single white mana, gain 2 life, scry 1, +1/+0 to your creatures, sacrifice a land, probably the land that you just tap for mana, and then do it again, and again, and again, and again. Basically, you got 10 planes in play. That's +10/+0 to your army. I mean, I guess gain 20 life and scry 10? I mean, so it's a good last push to be like, it's just me and you. I know I can get through these creatures. You don't have any kind of a fog effect. And yeah, I'm just going to take you out with this. Next up, kind of mentioned earlier that haste can be a very, very, very powerful thing for a deck like this. So yeah, crushing drawbridge. There aren't too many ways to grant haste in mono white. This is one of them. Defender, creature control gain haste till end of turn by tapping it. Great. Just again, a easy, 2 mana spell as well to be like, hey, okay, yeah, +1/+0, scry 1. Again, that's just also a good amount of value. Again, the lower, spells that you have, the more value you're going to be able to get from your commander. Next up, Archetype of Courage. This one can do a lot of work for you, especially with this commander. Creatures you control first strike, creature opponents control lose first strike, can't have or gain first strike. Basically, your creature's going to be hitting first, essentially no matter what. I mean, if they have double strike, they're going to be able to hit the same time too. That being said, this is the perfect kind of a card for this kind of a deck because, again, you swing with, say, a bunch of 1/1s in your commander and you've got mana open, your opponents won't know how to block because they're going to be like, can I take out any of their creatures? Because if I do block, they're just going to maybe cast a good amount of spells, get their creature's power up to enough so that it's above my creature's toughness and take them all out. And they swing first. They hit first with that first strike. So my creatures just are completely wiped out. So again, a really good card to have. Moving on, Audric Lunok Marshal, a 3/3 human soldier. That was a terrible Sean Connery. That is what I think of every single time I see Audric. Beginning of each combat, creature control gain first strike until end of turn. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. Essentially, as long as one of your creatures has those, it spreads that keyword out to all of them. So at the very least, again, with your commander, hey, all your creatures have vigilance. That is actually pretty nice. Just be able to swing and keep your creatures back again. Obviously, if some of your creatures can have double strike, if you've got other kinds of effects as well, you can spread those out, and those can be incredibly deadly. Moving on, Audric Master Tactician. Whenever it and at least 3 other creatures attack, you choose which creatures block this combat, how those creatures block. You can just say, they don't block? There you go. Or you can have all of them block a certain creature, take certain creatures out with that. You can use this as removal. You can use this as basically unblockability. This is fantastic and a great finisher for you. Again, other Odric can also get your creatures through as well. I mean, if you've got, that Battle Screech, those flying tokens, or, any other kind of flyers, that can also be a way to get your team through as well. This one, though, is more like, hey, you just aren't blocking, or you're blocking the exact way that I want you to, and I'm going to take your creatures out because of that. But now that we've gone through every single one of the fantastic budget buys, let's talk about the pricier picks. Again, cards outside of my budget. And the first one that I want to talk about is, well, Ephemerate. Wizards, please reprint this again. It is a fantastic card. Basically, Cloud Shift with a rebound. Really good. Again, I talked about why rebound is very good. You're basically paying 1 mana to get your commander's trigger twice. And again, if you've got any ETBs, you can really use and abuse them with this kind of a card. Moving on, Pearl Medallion. I didn't realize this is $38. This definitely needs a reprint too. My goodness, that is up there. Artifact for 2, white spells you cast cost once to cast. This is an incredible card in a deck like this. Again, the more spells you can cast in a turn, the more deadly you can be. And again, especially in combination with something like White Mane Lion, hey, let's cast it again and again and again. Now for just 1 mana at a time. Again, basically pay 1 repeatedly as many times as you want for +1/+0 and scry 1. That is absurd. Speaking of which, buyback. If you want to go in a buyback direction, this is actually a pretty fun card to utilize with it. Artifact for 3. This is Memory Crystal. All buyback costs reduced by 2. Unfortunately, if your opponents are also running buyback, this helps them out. Chances are very unlikely that they are actually running buyback, though. It is a very fringe mechanic that, or should I say keyword, that didn't see much use. Anyways, your buyback cards, again, kind of like what I talked about, the one that sacrifices the lands. There's other ones out there that I think usually cost 3 or more for the buyback. So essentially, now you just have to pay 1 for those. So you're just basically paying, there's other ones that, cost a single white mana. So it's like, hey, pay 2 mana, cast a spell, get it back to your hand. The more and more of these kinds of effects that you can have in a deck, the more and more worth it is to include Memory Crystal, because you just need 1 buyback card to keep utilizing it again and again and again, like White Mane Lion. Next up, Oketra's Monument. This one again works with White Mane Lion in a fantastic way. White creature spells you cast cost once to cast. So again, cast more and more white creatures more quickly, more effectively, more efficiently. And again, with White Mane Lion again and again and again for just 1 mana. On top of that, whenever you cast a creature spell, you get a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Yeah, sign me up for that. That is fantastic to be able to just make a army incredibly quickly. Again, think of that with White Mane Lion and your commander. Okay, I'll make a 1/1 for 1 mana, also +1/+0 to my creatures, and scry 1. Oh, and by the way, the 1/1 has vigilance as well, so I can swing with it, and it can stay back too. Gross. Moving on, Eldrazi Monument. Speaking of gross. Creatures you control get +1/+1, have flying and indestructible. That is usually enough to get through an opponent. Flying is typically. If it's not, there's probably one opponent that doesn't have any flyers. Go take them out. That's their fault. Also, if they do have flyers, other players have flyers. Unless they're playing like Dragon Tribal or one that is like all flyers, they typically don't have enough to block your army. So get through on them. On top of that, they do block, indestructible. You're not going to stop my army, so you're getting taken out. And also, wraths won't do anything to them as well. And your wraths will basically be one-sided, which is lovely. There are certain wraths that do, like bounce spells or exile. Yes, I know, but most wraths won't. Anyways, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. If you can't sacrifice Eldrazi Monument, you're going to be making a ton of tokens. That's a very, very, very low bar to meet. You can definitely keep this in play. Speaking of tokens, basically in any deck that's like, hey, I'm making a bunch of tokens, and then your friend's like, oh, you should use it on your procession. Yes, it's a very good card. It's very expensive for a reason. Any of these token doubling effects are expensive for a reason. There's another one that came out. I can't remember. It's one of the, not the Praetors. Goodness, is it Mondrak? I don't know. One of those, whatever you call it. It's from Phyrexia. It also doubles. So any of the token doublers, are going to be good because you're already making a ton of tokens, go even wider, even quicker. And with those ones that are like, hey, double up your team. And it's going to be like, hey, quadruple up your team. Or triple, whatever. Anyways, moving on, Divine Visitation. Get the most out of your tokens. This one essentially says, hey, if one or more creatures were to be created under your control, creature tokens, you get that many 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying vigilance instead. So, again, all those tiny little 1/1s that you're making, now you're just making them quadruple powered, essentially, and flying and vigilant. They can get through on players. They can swing and also block for you. Yeah, that's going to be much more effective when you're pumping them. Have fun with that. True Conviction. I wish this one was budget friendly. I wish most of these were budget friendly, but this one especially. Creatures you control, not just creature tokens, have double strike and lifelink. So basically, your army, again, which you are able to pump very effectively, very efficiently with your commander, now you're essentially getting double the value out of that pump. So again, you have a 1-1, all right? You have 1-1s attacking. You've got like 8 of them. Okay, you swing with those. You pump 3 times, you know, while you're swinging. They get an extra +3, +0, and you scry 3. On top of that, hey, the double strike will be like, you know what? I'm basically hitting for 8 instead. And also lifelink, you gain 8 for each of those. That's what, 64 life without that and 64 damage. Yeah, that's pretty gross. Oh, I forgot to include this one. A Chroma's Memorial. Hey, again, like I talked about, there's not too many ways to give haste. This is one of them. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from red and from black. So, hey, yeah, this does basically all the things you want it to do. Being able to swing through on most opponents give them flying, first strike, hit first. So, hey, unless they have first strike, the Pranic will stop your creatures because you can pump them enough. Trample, get through damage. Haste, swing right away. Vigilance, keep them back on defense. Pro black, pro red. Can't be blocked by those creatures. You can't target them with those kinds of spells or abilities. Yeah, for 7 mana, that's a lot, but this does a lot for you. A really, really crazy good card. So again, as I guess just upset, I guess I should say, disappointed in how many Gandalfs there are. This is a very well-designed card. I wish it was a different character. I wish it was basically any other character from Lord of the Rings that doesn't already have 4 other cards. Like, you know, Frodo, Sam, all those are going to have. Just... you could have just spread it out a little bit. I'm not upset about the card. I'm upset that they just like keep like, oh yeah, let's make another Gandalf and another Gandalf and another Gandalf. You could have made one really cool Gandalf that everyone was so hyped about, but you spread them all out for no reason, except you're like, I don't know, probably trying to sell more packs or something. Like, hey, you might open up a Gandalf in that pack or that pack. I just think it just takes away from the character when you make more of the character. It's like Urza and Mishra. With all of them versus the one Urza or the one Mishra, you take away from it. Okay, and I'm not saying you can't do like them throughout different sets, and maybe that's the thing again. Wizards doesn't maybe not, they don't have another shot at this. They don't have another shot at Lord of the Rings, but still, I think that it just kind of just takes the excitement out of seeing Gandalf when you're like, oh, cool, it's Gandalf. Oh, there's another Gandalf. Oh, there's another Gandalf. Okay, have you heard about that Gandalf? Oh, which one are you talking about? Oh, that one? Oh, that one? Oh, that one? Oh, that one? Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox for the day. Well, not for the day. I might get back on it in the next episode, depending on what happens. Maybe there's another Gandalf for the next episode, so there you go. I hope that you enjoyed this episode still, even though, oh yes, I'm sorry that I got a little bit soapboxy in it. Make sure you check out the card list link in the description if you are excited about this commander. Again, not trying to take away from the commander. It's a very exciting card. It's a really cool, again, like spell slinging mono white. Who knew? So yeah, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Consider picking up some of those cards. Make sure you stay tuned to this channel for more exciting quick takes and spoilers coming up, and all your Gandalf news, apparently. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.